Now, moving on from Final Fantasy, for anybody who didn't care about Final Fantasy, you probably stopped listening 20 minutes ago. But let's talk about something big going on in the world of PlayStation, which is, of course, the big, huge Xbox Activision Blizzard FTC trial that's going on right now. IGN's been covering that. We've literally got Woman on the Street out there keeping an eye on it. Rebecca Valentine has been keeping tabs on all the developments coming out of there. There have been some delightfully catty little tidbits here and there of various CEOs and important people saying little things here and there. And I figured we could run over kind of some of the bigger takeaways, specifically from a PlayStation perspective. The big bone of contention here is Call of Duty. Like it is the best-selling video game franchise in history. It is regularly the best-selling game of the year. Maybe I feel like a lot of us don't even play it. Some of us do. I don't. It's one of those just kind of weird. Like it's people buy a console just to play Call of Duty. So obviously, PlayStation wants to keep selling copies of Call of Duty. And it seems like that's going to continue. Phil Spencer said, I'll do whatever it takes to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, which, that's kind of just a CEO pleasantry. That sounds like
very much
not to rock the boat. That said, a judge reminded him that he was under oath, and he said, we have no plan. I'm making a commitment standing here that we will not pull Call of Duty. It is my testimony from PlayStation. So that's a nice kind of peace of mind for anybody who is concerned about that. And one person who I guess wasn't, or maybe could have been, is Jim Ryan, who said, pretty sure we'll continue to see COD on PlayStation for many years to come. So
they have some type of backroom handshake or whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the Call of Duty still sells plenty of microtransactions and DLC and stuff. So even if it is on PlayStation, I'm sure that it would make money for Microsoft in the long run.
Yeah, the thing for me is I've said this multiple times on the show. I'm against consolidation, studios being bought and stuff, and going into it because we get to the point where it makes competition less aggressive between each other, which gives us worse products. Competition breeds excellency, so we want that type of competition. And so, saying that I would keep, there's no plans to pull Call of Duty from PlayStation consoles, that doesn't mean the same Call of Duty is going on both. It could mean that there's a different Call of Duty going to PlayStation than there is going to Xbox. It could mean that it's launched in different, a year later. So everybody on PlayStation playing Call of Duty is playing, can you imagine playing Modern Warfare 1 Modern Warfare 1, it's a bad example, but Modern Warfare 1 while everybody else is playing Modern Warfare 2 on Xbox. I
was going to say, Xbox gets a brand new Modern Warfare 3 Redux, and PlayStation 5 gets a port of the Wii U version of Black Ops.
There you go. Exactly. So I'm not saying that this is going to happen, and this isn't me pom-pomming for either side on this. It's just me looking at their words and what they say and how we know businesses tend to operate from time to time. There's so many things that corporations get away with the fine print and how they word specific things. Hence why they have armies and armies of lawyers that, I could only wish to ever be able to afford for anything. And so it's just a matter of what that could mean in the future. So I do hope Call of Duty remains equal on both consoles going forward. And I think it will, but
I mean, one thing that's a key point here is that it's a huge multiplayer game. If people are somehow unfamiliar with that, and that lives and dies based
Never
on
heard of this Call of Duty.
You can play with your friends
with my
on
friends
the computer.
On the computer.
Yeah, use your phone line to connect to the World Wide Web, and you get to shoot your friends in the head. It's wild.
Wow.
You don't have to shoot your cousin in the head on the split screen anymore. I don't think you can even do that. No. But seriously, having a massive, thriving player base is what kind of keeps the lights on. Obviously selling a box copy every year is great and all, but I think having consistent, steady player count in Warzone is a big deal.
Yep.
And crossplay goes a long way for that because it's those players are all playing in one big swimming pool as opposed to
the kiddie pond
being all in weird separate hot tubs. Or I don't know where we're going with this analogy, but
water. It's wet.
I don't think you need to testify under oath to be yeah, I promise Call of Duty is going to come to this all the other platforms. That's just a thing that I inherently believe the first time they said it.
Yeah.
So I don't need them to have a hand on a Bible and whatnot when they're saying it. But I think any moves, again, I know there's pure speculation on Jada's side, but if they were to ever do anything that felt remotely hinky from the Activision Microsoft side, it would be such a bad PR move that it would just be one of those things that we would never do that because it's such a bad look on us. And I think, frankly, there's nothing to gain from Microsoft's side to have it only be on Xbox because, as you mentioned, having an actual online community and a player base is going to be the thing that keeps Call of Duty fueled. Where I do think more interesting conversations are to be had are with everything else Microsoft owns, whether it be the Bethesda side of things. Well, I mean, I think that's the biggest one, right?
Yeah.
The Bethesda side.
Well, let's talk about that. Obviously, this has been an awkward breakup, so to speak, because I think two of Bethesda's last games, which came out, I think, since this was all first talked about, were obviously Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, which were initially timed PlayStation exclusives, and then suddenly it was like. It was pretty funny to be like, Microsoft bought ZeniMax Media. Anyway, Ghostwire Tokyo exclusively on PlayStation. What? And apparently that, those coming out was sort of a concern for, Xbox, unsurprisingly. And that was a case of Sony paying to keep them off of Xbox. Like that's how that business works. And obviously Xbox was concerned about Starfield, which is kind of the next big thing. And that's not, I mean, it doesn't seem like that's going to be coming to PS5, period.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it'll come out later on down the road. But
a decade later with all the mods, and it'll be the Starfield of the Year edition.
Yeah, pretty much. Who knows?
Doubt it.
Could. They did say that were it coming to PlayStation 5, it would not be coming out this year, which is understandable because they would have had to develop it for
two different consoles, two different
many systems. Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah.
And they just export as PS5? I don't understand.
You just copy, paste.
Tried that with Skyrim, and look what happened there. It's just rename .xbox to .ps3, and then suddenly your dude explodes if he has too many swords in his pocket or whatever.
Sounds like a good problem to have.
Speaking of which, Elder Scrolls 6. Apparently, I love that they just completely spoil everything with these big court cases, which is. If you're going to have a room full of people and sitting in chairs and pointed one direction and they're going to make big reveals like this, I feel like I kind of prefer it's, a Game Awards or like a Xbox showcase than like a federal hearing, but I'll take it. Elder Scrolls 6 is apparently 5+ years away. PlayStation version is still possible. So, I would assume that if it's that far off, they haven't nailed that stuff down yet, but that's an interesting kind of little, carrot to dangle in the air.
I almost wouldn't be surprised if they wait to see just how Starfield performs being Xbox exclusive before they make that decision with Elder Scrolls. Just because, obviously Starfield is going to perform well, but how well it performs will be a different metric for how they compare it to should we maybe consider PlayStation fans for Elder Scrolls 6? I don't really care either way. I like Elder Scrolls as a franchise, but it's not a make or break for me on PlayStation. But I know there are a lot of people out there who really love their Elder Scrolls and really love their PlayStation and would really love to play it on their PlayStation. So who knows?
A game that's 5+ years away, I feel like they can say without perjuring themselves that, yeah, it's still possible. I mean, they put Skyrim on Amazon Alexa. So sure, anything could happen. They're like, we're putting Starfield on the text adventure on PS5. Wink, wink.
It's also we don't even know what the consoles are going to look like in 5 years. No. We'll be potentially gearing up for the next generation in 5+ years.
Perfectly translucent sphere. You put both hands on it to play the games. That'd be great. I think the future looks like. But yeah, it sort of closer on the horizon, aside from Elder Scrolls 6, is Outer Worlds 2. Exclusivity for that has also not been decided. So, possibility we see that on other platforms. It's funny that we have all these the sky's falling revelations about what could happen here, because Microsoft has scooped up massive companies and still kept things on multiple platforms. Minecraft, for instance, they bought Mojang a million years ago, and Minecraft stuff has continued to come out for multiple platforms. Obviously, they kind of Minecraft Dungeons and Legends, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, those are both.
Legends, yeah.
Those were both Xbox exclusive, right? They're kind of stuck on there.
I believe
Xbox and PC as well.
PC, yeah.
Which is whatever, that's fine. But the main core Minecraft experience hasn't been disrupted. That said, this is a funny little petty catty takeaway. It doesn't have a PS5 version because Sony didn't send Microsoft any dev kits, which is just.
It's but also kind of understandable. You don't want to send dev kits to your one of your direct competitors and be like, let's see what's inside of this. That dev kit would never have made it to the Mojang Studios. It just wouldn't have happened. Microsoft would have intercepted it with the ninjas.
Yeah, I also feel like, honestly, if Microsoft wanted to get their hands on a PS5 dev kit, they could probably do that. You know? They probably have their own ninjas, and in their that they now own all the Modern Warfare guys that get their night vision goggles, to swoop in there. You know?
They also have Ninja Theory, so they've got probably got a couple. They probably got a couple ninjas there.
Now this is an interesting one. Machine Games' upcoming Indiana Jones game was originally planned to be cross-platform, but that's now going to be an Xbox and PC exclusive. And this fascinates me because this is also these big companies playing with someone else's toys. Like, this is a Disney property, and you'd think that Disney would want to kind of just proliferate their stuff as much as possible and get it, you know, they don't want to play favorites on that front. And I imagine there's some weird phone calls that happen on that side. I think there was one little tidbit that came, that might have been just like a weird rumor leak. Somebody saying that it's first person, but also third person, which really doesn't help us figure out what the game looks like in action.
So it means it's like most likely like a third person, but if you get a sniper rifle, it goes to first person. I don't know.
Or you're
like
in first person unless you get on a biplane, and then it's third.
The opposite, yeah.
So it could be one of these or possibly another option. That narrows it down a little bit.
Thanks, guys.
This is
when you go in the fridge, it goes third person.
I love it. No, I mean, I was expecting to see something about this game this year, and I can't help but wonder how that's getting kind of held up by this whole debacle situation.
Yeah.
Weird to think about. It feels, I mean, we're getting an Indiana Jones game or movie out in like 20 minutes, and I don't know, I feel like the buzz on that is kind of lukewarm.
It was an okay movie.
What?
It was an okay movie. I went to the premiere.
Did you?
Yeah, I went to the premiere. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was cool.
Did you at any point sit there going, I wish there was a video game of this?
No, I didn't at any point at any given time.
Well, then.
But I got to see, John Williams conduct a live orchestra for a bunch of songs at the premiere. So it was really cool.
All right. Well, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess I'm gonna get to do an ending explained video, even though I haven't seen it. So that's
Gotta love reading scripts.
collateral damage of this job.
Do you want me to do it?
No, it's fine. I honestly am like kind of, it feels, part of me is dead inside that I'm not more excited. I'm actually more excited about the Indiana Jones game
than the movie,
which I'm bummed isn't on PlayStation. I want to know what the haptics of whip crack.
That would actually been cool. The haptics would have been really cool. But for me, I don't know, because they had the Indiana Jones game on the original Xbox. So like for me, I've always expected to play the next game on Xbox regardless. That's just kind of how my brain works. It's like when I play Tomb Raider, I like to play that on PlayStation. Final Fantasy, I like to play that on PlayStation because that's where I originally played them. So it's just kind of, it's a weird thing like that, my gymnastics that my brain does. It's like, you played this game here. It's this type of series, so I play them on that.
I get that. That's fair.
I'm just glad
he does strike me as an Xbox guy, though. Like, right? I feel like he would own an Xbox for sure.
The only way to play an Indiana Jones game is on a Macintosh Performa 575. You play the Fate of Atlantis CD-ROM version. It's got full voice acting. It's great. Anyway, the other big tidbit from the PlayStation thing, the FTC thing, is that apparently next-gen consoles are targeting a 2028 release, which seems like a long way away, but also not that far off. I don't know. Weird to think about.
2028, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a 5+ years for the Skyrim or Elder Scrolls 6.
Like a 10-year console cycle then, roughly 10 years. That's like the Xbox 360 PS3 generation. So yeah, that feels right.
Yeah. I don't know. We don't have anything planned. It's fine.